The Brent Hatley Show, along with executive producer here, Tommy Greenery. What's happening, buddy?
Hi, as
How
always.
are you? So, yes, both bald guys with beards. Very much. Shuli is in our club too. It's a very cool look. Lots of chicks into it, and not to be discriminatory, lots of gay guys into it too.
Shuli needs to shave his head though. Still,
I told Shuli that. I told him that on Miserable Men. I was like, you can't hold on to the songs of yesterday, man. You gotta like take the straight razor out and shave. He's like, I'm going to the barber. I'm like, why are you wasting money going to the barber?
Right,
what is there to ridiculous. Cut? What's there to cut? Like, get yourself a Gillette razor and shave it right on down to zero. Like, I started doing that in 2000. As soon as like I had the long like power alleys and it looked ridiculous, I was like, I went to Bubba and was like, let's shave my head on the air. And if Stern,
I look like Bozo.
Yeah, you do the Bozo the Clown ring. Hulk Hogan has that same thing going too. He has the Bozo the Clown ring, and he thinks he's fooling everybody wearing that stupid bandana. Right. And he's not. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then Travolta wears that hairpiece to cover it up. Yeah. Listen, man. Once it's gone, once your hair goes, like there's just shave it. If medicine or technology could do anything about two things, male pattern baldness in the size of our penises, there would be some rich doctors out there. I mean rich, Bill Gates style rich, if they could do penis enlargements or they could fix male pattern baldness for real. Those things can't be fixed. So what you got to do is you got to live with whatever you're born with between your legs, and you got to live with going bald. What are you going to do? So welcome to the Brent Hatley Show. I saw and heard Tommy listens to the show. I didn't listen to the show, but I read the articles, and our manager sent me some clips and talked to me about it. And, Howard is so pissed. Howard Stern is so pissed. In case you don't know, he's threatening to run for president. In 1997, he ran for, just to give you some background on his political career. In 1997, he ran as a libertarian for governor in the state of New York. But he was not very happy about the financial disclosure laws when you run.
Yeah.
And you do have to disclose everything. Like, when you run
until we had Trump.
Until we had Trump, what he did was he just didn't release his taxes, because that's not a law, but he did release like a phone book thick of all of his financial interests, like what he has financial interest in, which is that's what's required by law. Like, when I ran for city council, like in the state of Florida, when you run for office, you have to do a financial disclosure, just same as anybody else, no matter what office you're running from, but you don't have to release your taxes. I didn't release my taxes, but I listed, you have to list everything, like your salary, what you have investments in, what all the stocks that you have in the, what companies you work for, all kinds of things like that have to be listed. So he didn't like that in 1997. So he ended up dropping out of the race, and he was running on two different things, which were issues that, one issue like directly affected people, which is road construction. Road construction during morning and afternoon drive time really inconveniences a lot of working people. He was right on that. Like you can take those, 2 or 3 hours and not do road construction. You can do it overnight. Yeah. And he wanted to bring back the death penalty in New York. And Pataki, Governor Pataki, who ended up winning, agreed to those things, and he got Howard's endorsement. He won that race. So he does have, like, in the state of New York, a political win, and he helped a Republican Governor Pataki win. Right. And Howard was also good friends for many years with he was a Republican senator, but I really consider him more of a libertarian, Senator Alphonse D'Amato. Senator D'Amato was a very libertarian type person, and he was one of the only politicians that stood up to the FCC when they were cracking down on bad words on the radio. Also the same for, who the other politician, he was in the House at the time, but he is a U.S. Senator now. Who the other politician was that pushed back against the FCC? Tommy Greenery?
No, who?
The millionaires and billionaires simply cannot have it all.
Really?
Bernie Sanders, if you go back and listen, he called into Stern's show when he was a House member to say that the FCC fining people is completely wrong and against the First Amendment. And he also gave a speech on the House floor to that effect. Ron Paul wasn't vocal about it, as specific to Howard or Bubba or anybody like that. But Ron Paul was also, when he was a House member, against the FCC, the government fining people for free speech. So there's a long history of being kind of intertwined in politics there for Howard. And I understand that a lot of these rulings by the Supreme Court are upsetting people. And I get the emotion. Why? I completely get it. But let's talk about, first of all, you're going to say you were going to run for president and you're going to announce that Bradley Cooper is your running mate. Now,
yeah. So, well, let me be clear, since I heard it. First, on Monday's show, he said he hinted at it. And then his way of announcing was to, as you were saying, Bradley Cooper is his running mate.
And Bradley Cooper is an excellent actor. He really is. And he even showed in that movie with Lady Gaga that I didn't even see. I just heard the song. To be able to even sing that well, Bradley Cooper is an excellent entertainer and a super, super, super nice guy.
He's going to get the women vote.
That shouldn't be lost. That shouldn't be lost. But what this says about our politics is not good. It says that we have a political system that is so broken, and we have politicians that are so corrupt and so bought and paid for, which has been the case for a long time. This isn't new, but they're so inept and so corrupt and so bought and paid for that we have entertainers now running to be president. And a lot of the people, I was having a really interesting conversation with a guy that was a big Bubba fan. I was having this conversation with him yesterday on Twitter, and he says to me, I agree with you. Trump's a megalomaniac, but he disrupted the establishment. That's where we are, is a guy like Trump, who is the establishment. He's a New York builder. His family has deep pockets for generations. It's old money. When his dad died, he left, hundreds of millions of dollars to each one of his kids. It's not that was not a poor family. To say that, that Donald Trump wasn't part of the establishment, I think, is kind of naive. But Donald Trump was so crude and so crass and saying the things out loud that politicians don't say. All this stuff goes on behind the scenes. And you saw it, didn't you? Isn't Madison Cawthorn from your district?
Yes.
So Madison
and the Trump's Mark Meadows.
Yeah. So
Mark Meadows is also from my district.
So Madison Cawthorn, who just lost his primary, when he said the quiet part out loud, when he says, he's like, I'm hanging out with other congressmen and we're doing a bump of cocaine and I'm getting invited to an orgy. They were like, okay, well, you're done. We're going to find a way to get you. You're out of the club right now because you're saying the quiet part out loud. Exactly. But Trump came in because New York builders and people in that business are very, they're very ostentatious, and you can see by the buildings in New York and the real estate there and the prices they get for it and all this stuff. He's very ostentatious and used to just speaking whatever comes to mind and boss hogging his way through business. And that's the approach that he took to politics. And Americans were so fed up that that's what they went for. Because when you talk to a lot of people, and that's what this guy that was telling me on Twitter yesterday is, he pretty much agrees with all the positions that libertarians agree with, but he just liked the fact that Trump upset the people that had been screwing with him and his life for so long. That is where America got to. Now there's a flip side to that. Now that's on the more conservative side. There's a flip side to that now that the Supreme Court has ruled that they've overturned a long time abortion ruling, Roe v. Wade, which made it a right to privacy issue for you to be able to terminate a pregnancy. Now that that's overturned, and people are like, that's sent back to the states. Yeah, for now, but there is going to be a national. They're going to introduce a national ban when Republicans take over the House and the Senate. They are going to introduce that. Clarence Thomas said that that's what they want to do. Mike Pence said that that's what they want to do. Believe me,
Hillary Clinton said it today.
Yeah, and that's what they want to do. They absolutely want to do that, and they're the states that have Republican control of their legislature and the governor's office have already done it. So, and some are on their way to doing even more. So that got Howard Stern to the point where he says, I'm going to run for president. And people took it seriously for a little bit until you announced Bradley Cooper is going to be your running mate. Like, what does Bradley Cooper know? No offense to Mr. Cooper. Again, fantastic artist. But what does he know about being vice president? Because the number one qualification for vice president is when the president, if anything happens, like, you've got to be ready to be president. Does anybody here think that Bradley Cooper is ready to be president? Because I certainly do not. I certainly don't. And for all of Mike Pence's faults, and he's one of my least favorite people on the planet, he was the governor of Indiana. Like, that, he had some experience. You know, when Barack Obama was president, gosh, he had Joe Biden as vice president. Speaking of that, just a quick side note about Joe Biden, and I know some people like him and some people don't, but just think about this and take Biden specifically out of it and just take a wide view for a second. The man was in the Senate for over 40 years.
Yeah. Then
he was vice president for 8 years, and now he needs to be president. Who needs that much power? How much power is enough for you? And there's something mentally wrong. That was my point about, you know, Donald Trump, about Mitt Romney. If I had $2 million, I would have no interest in being president. And with Howard, why would somebody that makes $120 million a year want $400,000 a year for a lot more work than he does now? A lot more. And you do have to leave your house. And it's no secret. He says it on the air. He's basically agoraphobic. He's OCD. He's a germaphobe. He does not. When you meet Howard, the best you do is you give him a fist bump, but you know not to touch him. Like, he's right. Like, not, that is not something that Howard's looking for. He's not looking to shake your hand. He's not looking to touch you. The best you do is a fist bump, and you give him the respect. That's it. Mm-hmm. So when you're out on the campaign trail, being a fake politician, you shake lots of people's hands and hold people's their baby with snot and spit everywhere. Like, Howard's not up for that. He's not up for that, and he's not up for the aggravation of being president, because, you know, you mentioned. So what were the two things he mentioned that he wanted to do if he were president?
So he wants to expand the Supreme Court by 5.
So that would so that would make it. So if you expand it by 5, that would make it 14. So that's not even that great of an idea, because you can have 7-7.
Right, but then he's going to appoint 5 of liberals.
Yeah, so he's never heard of Mitch McConnell then.
Well, he didn't actually say, right. He didn't actually say he was going to appoint. He said that we were going to do the math once we were in the White House.
Yeah, we'll figure it out once we get there. So, and then what was the other thing he wanted to do? Is get rid of the Electoral College. Okay, yeah. So I agree with getting rid of the Electoral College, because I think the person with the most votes should win. That's just on a fairness basis. But let me tell you why getting rid of the Electoral College is a good idea, but it's never going to happen. So, number one, getting rid of the Electoral College. Do you know what that entails?
Rewriting the Constitution?
It's a constitutional amendment. That's correct. It would take a constitutional amendment. And you know what you have to do to amend the Constitution? It takes 2/3 of the Congress, so 66% of the Congress. So imagine getting 66 senators to agree on anything. It's never going to happen. Right. The other thing that has to happen that really makes it a high bar to get over is 75% of states have to agree to it.
Oh, so that's never
75%.
Wyoming.
Yeah. So 75% of states that have a disproportionate amount of power. So you bring up Wyoming. Wyoming has 2 senators, and so does California. California has 40 million people, and they've got 2 senators. Yeah. Wyoming has so few people that they only have 1 member of Congress, but they've got 2 senators.
Yeah,
that's the imbalance. And when you've got, right now, as we sit here today, there's 50 Republicans in the Senate. To get over, to even get anything to the floor, you need 60 votes. So to even get a constitutional amendment to the floor to be voted on, you got to get to 60 votes. And you've got 50 Republican senators from states that have a disproportionate amount of power based on their population that are never going to vote for that. It's never going to happen. The system, our system is set up a very specific way. And the way that our system is set up is for rural areas to have more power than big cities. Because when the Constitution was set up, when it was set up that way, it was set up for and by people that owned land. And when you owned land back then, you were rich. We didn't have a central bank back then. We didn't have the Federal Reserve. We didn't have money. We had a resource-based economy. Money was based on something like gold. When you read this book, there's a great book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. Tobacco was a form of, as you are from North Carolina, Tommy, tobacco was a form of actual money. Whiskey, milk, things like this were traded as commodities. It was a resource-based economy. In the resource-based economy, these farmers, planters, people like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, people like that, that's who wanted to retain power. And for all their good points, like George Washington, there's good and bad points about the guy. And I think he's the best president we've ever had because he gave up power. He did not want to be king. But the way this is set up in this country, we basically have lords and dukes and earls in Congress that can stay there as long as they want, as long as you don't blow everybody in and say we're doing cocaine and orgies. As soon as you say that, they've got a file on you that gets dropped on your head and you lose your primary. And to prove that that's the case, Madison Cawthorn probably told the truth about doing bumps of cocaine and getting invited to orgies. Probably did. I believe he was telling the truth. And I believe that's why he got ousted. And then you have Lauren Boebert, who is a Republican from Colorado, who it comes out and it is alleged that she was a sex worker and that she had had abortions previously. But she did not buck the establishment. She didn't blow anybody else in. And guess what? She won her primary, which shows you this. Conservative voters don't actually care about these issues. They care about loyalty and who can be the biggest ball busting dick to the Democrats. And the Democrats and the Republicans care about winning. The Republicans understand the number one rule in politics is this: win first. That's the number one rule in politics. Win first. Because, and I'll quote somebody that you all may or may not like. He is an individual that is not great. I have met him a few times and had conversations with him, but this quote is 100% true. Politics ain't beanbags and losers don't govern. Politics ain't beanbags and losers don't govern. That is a true statement. It's win first. And Republicans, especially Mitch McConnell, win and they play for keeps. And Democrats sit around in a big circle jerk with their ideas that people don't even understand what the hell they're talking about half the time. And it's confusing. Roger Stone is the one that came up with the 3-word saying that Trump says at all his rallies: build the wall. 3 words, that simple. Build the wall. 3 syllables, and everybody can chant it. Win first. And they figured out a strategy on how to game the Electoral College, because Republicans haven't won the popular vote since 2004, I think, is the last time they won the popular vote, which was George W. Bush. Yeah, that was the last time they won the popular vote, because Al Gore won it before that. So it's the Electoral College is a very specific way that you go about winning, and a few states count and the rest of you don't. Yeah. And that is not going to be changed, because this is what Howard needs to understand, and this is what every one of you need to understand about how the country is set up. So it was set up for rural control. Then what happened in 1913 is international bankers came along from the Bank of England, Bank of France, from Germany, and in the United States, and they met at in Jekyll Island in Georgia. And Remember, I just told you what it takes to amend our Constitution. The bankers figured out that it is much easier to control you through controlling your wages. If we can control your wages and your time, we can control you more than slavery or indentured servitude or any of the rest of that other stuff can. If we can control your wages and time, we can control you, and therefore we can rob you and we can loot your resources. So what did they do? They came up with two things. The two worst things ever done. So Woodrow Wilson was paid off and bought by these people, and there was a whole bunch of politicians at the state level and in the House and the Senate that were bought off too by these bankers. People like J.P. Morgan, his father, and people like that bought these people off. And what they did, they created two things. You know what they created, Tommy?
What?
The Federal Reserve, and they created the IRS. And those two things, the Federal Reserve and the IRS, are the bane of your existence, whoever you may be, unless you're a rich oligarch, and I doubt anybody's watching this is that. And to quote George Carlin, there's a big club and you ain't in it. And it ain't even that big of a club. It's about 400 families that run the world. And what the Federal Reserve does, in a nutshell, is they create money out of thin air. So we no longer had a dollar based on anything like gold. We didn't trade commodities anymore, or things that you had, things that had value to you. It's this paper currency, a Federal Reserve note. That's what it says on our money, Federal Reserve note. The Federal Reserve, although the word federal is in it, it's not a government institution. They are authorized to print money for us. And what the Federal Reserve does is they use this system called fractional reserve banking. So if I have $100 in the bank, $100 cash in the bank, I can lend out $900 on the computer screen based on that $100. And that causes inflation like you're dealing with now. That causes boom and bust cycles. That causes all kinds of things that cause you pain. Because here's what's going on. What's going on is it started off with, we want to control you for 6 days a week, as much as we can for the workday. Then the left comes along and gets you a 5-day work week, and get you a weekend. Oh, whoop-de-doo. So now we're going to control you for 5 days a week for at least 40 hours of that week. So Monday through Friday. Then on Saturday, we want you to have kids. You need to have kids because kids mean more rules apply to you. And then on Saturday, you got to go to soccer games and kids' birthday parties, and you've got to you're busy with being a parent most of the time on Saturdays. Then on Sundays, they want you going to church, because at church, the Bible tells you to, and this is in the Bible, give Caesar what is Caesar's. That means pay your taxes. Give Caesar what is Caesar's. Pay your taxes. And then you need to give the church 10%, because that's in the Bible too. It's called tithing. So they want your time and your money. That's 7 days a week that you're busy. So now we're at the point where not only do they want your money, not only do they want to control your wages and your time, now when you get some precious time off, when you get a few minutes off, you want to play the guitar, or maybe ride a motorcycle, or have sex, or go to the beach and throw the football around, have some beers, enjoy nature, go camping, go shooting, skydiving, all these things that are going to enhance your life. Learn to paint. They don't want you doing that. They want you now. Not only do they want your wages, not only do they want your time, now they want you with that precious time off that you have. You're busy 7 days a week. They want you busy 7 days a week. And then when you have a moment to yourself, they want you sitting in front of a screen reading political opinions from the assholes that you went to high school with. And they want you stuck to that screen, and they designed an artificial intelligence to keep you glued to that screen and suck your life away. And none of you who are watching this, no matter who you are, have that long left. I got news for you. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. If you make it to 100, you're lucky. Just write out the number 4.5 billion and put it next to the number 100. Just do that one time. Just write it out with all the zeros. And then put it next to the number 100. If you're lucky, you get to 100. I mean, in Japan, 10,000 people are over 100, but that's a different story for a different day. But if you make it that long, you are lucky. And they want to suck your time away, because when you're sitting on Facebook, and I'm sitting here, I've got fingers pointed at myself too, because I like to get on Twitter and have conversations with people. But I'm under no illusion that it's not sucking my time away, and I'm under no illusion that it's not an addiction, because it is. But I put limits on the apps. On this thing, I put time limits on the apps. So it tells me to get off of this.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So
you have an app that controls the app?
Well, it comes with your it's in your settings in your iPhone. You can do it with your Samsung or whatever. It's screen time. Go in there and look at screen time, and you can limit screen time, and it will turn the apps off for you. And I do that. Wow. So I have time, because I need time to talk to my wife. I need time to spend with other people. I need time to listen to pull out a vinyl record and put it on an analog record player and listen to that music. And I need time to write. I need time to edit video, all that stuff. All of it. I need all that stuff as a human being, and that stuff enhances my life, and I'm happier when I'm doing those things. But what's going on in this country is your time, life, money, everything is being sucked away. And the reason that people want to get rid of abortion, they use religion, because people have the religion has gotten people to take religion personally. If you're religious and somebody insults your religion has gotten you to take that personally. They use this as a religious thing, although it's not mentioned anywhere in the Bible. But the reason that they want abortion illegal is they need more people to exploit. Now, I sent out a tweet yesterday, because Frank Luntz, who is he's a Republican pollster, that's all you need to know. And he sent out a tweet yesterday about the top 10 states with the highest murder rate per 100,000 people. Mississippi and Louisiana are number 1 and 2. The top 10 states, 8 of them are southern states, and the other one is Maryland and Illinois. And the murder rates are high, and all these states are economically depressed, and all of them survive and thrive on the prison industrial complex. I'm going to tell you a fact right now, Tommy Greenery, that you're gonna believe isn't true, but it absolutely is. Did you know the state of Louisiana alone, which is number 2 in the murder rate in this entire country, the state of Louisiana alone incarcerates more people than Iran and China combined? Take Iran and China combined, and everybody that's in prison, there's more people in prison in just the state of Louisiana. We have 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's prison population.
Wow.
Think about that. In these red states in the South, where there's a lot of prisons, a lot of these states survive on the prison industrial complex. They survive on the military industrial complex. And they need abortion to be illegal, because they need more babies to feed to the war machine and the prison machine, to line the pockets of rich people. That is a fact. That is reality. That is your reality that you're living with right now, whether you want to admit it or not. That is what's going on. And if you're worried about nonsense, then you can't, that fact never comes into your mind, because you've got your latte and your hoverboard, and you're in front of Facebook because you're arguing with the guy that you sat next to in economics class in high school about Trump versus Biden. Think about how mindless all of this is. And none of it benefits you. It benefits a very, very tiny few people. They're stealing your labor. And then when you get to rest for your labor, they want your time there too. Zuckerberg and Dorsey, well, they want your time too. All of it. So you may hate me. You may be one of these people that trolls me and thinks that, oh, you're so brilliant because you're trolling me. But guess what? You're not. You're wasting your time in life too. Hating on me. Who gives a fuck about me? I don't even care about me. I just want you to leave me alone and get out of my way so I can go back to enjoying the things that I enjoy. Leave me alone. Go find something that you enjoy. And that's where we have gotten to in America. And now we're to the point where entertainers are running for president because we want to be entertained. We need to be distracted. We need mind-numbing nonsense to get us through this. And I'm going to tell you again, the Constitution is never going to get amended to get rid of the Electoral College because those rural states are never going to give up that power, ever. In Congress, so you want to add 5 Supreme Court justices. Well, that's up to Congress. How many justices sit on the Supreme Court? It's the only place where it's mentioned in the Constitution is they mention the Chief Justice in impeachment proceedings, but they don't mention how many. The Constitution doesn't specify how many justices are on the Supreme Court. It's a congressional thing. It's been 9 since the year 1869. Yeah, 1869, we've had 9 Supreme Court justices, but John Adams had as few as 5. Lincoln had 10. It's up to Congress, and it's been a political deal. It's can we use the Supreme Court to advance our political agenda? That's how it goes, and that's what Howard's saying is he wants to change the Supreme Court to advance his political agenda. And that's the way it's always been. But the problem with this is you've got 50 Republican senators right now. And there's a number of states, there's not going to be anything but 2 Republican senators, Wyoming, Montana, Mississippi, Georgia. Well, Georgia's got 2 Democrats right now, but I don't know how long that's going to last. South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, all these states are going to have 2 senators. And you're never going to get over the 60 votes to even get it to the floor to change the Supreme Court. It's never going to happen, ever. Mm-hmm. So that's the point that where we are right now. So what can you do? You're saying, yes, you're giving me all this information. I'm giving you this information so that you're not bamboozled by anybody. Wow. I don't want you to be bamboozled or under any illusions. It's never, ever, ever, ever going to happen. The Electoral College isn't changing, and the number of justices on the Supreme Court is not changing. Never going to happen. You know why? Because there's a guy, his name is Mitch McConnell. He's the Senate minority leader right now. He's been the majority leader for most of his Senate career. Mitch McConnell plays to win. Mitch McConnell twists arms to get people to vote the way he wants them to vote, and they vote the way he wants them to vote. When Barack Obama, who was president in 2012, and suddenly Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia passed away, he appointed a guy named Merrick Garland, who is from the Washington, D.C. Court of Appeals, to be on the Supreme Court. Mitch McConnell didn't even give him a hearing. He didn't even get a hearing. But let me say that again. He did not even give the president of the United States a hearing. They didn't even get to vote him down. It wasn't even an option because Mitch McConnell doesn't care about the rules. He doesn't care about the norms. He cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's winning. And he will do whatever it takes to win. And there is nobody on the Democratic side that's going to do that. So when you have nobody on one side they're going to give you these wonky policy discussions. And then you have the other side that's like, we're going to win. We don't care. We don't care that Lauren Boebert was an escort. Who cares about that? We just say we care about that, but we don't really care about that. We care about, are you going to fall in line and vote with us? And are you going to win? That's what Republicans care about. Republicans play to win. Democrats don't. And that's why Republicans win. That is the bottom line right there. It is that is the big and small of it, and that's why the Electoral College won't change, the Supreme Court won't change. And what can you do? What you have to do, well, not what you have to do, what you can do, if you so choose, is you can find a place in the United States that suits your needs, your personal needs and your family's needs. And you can carve yourself out a bubble where you can live a happy life. That's it, my friends. That is all you can do.
You can vote too.
Well, you can vote, but it depends on what state you're in. If that does that even matter? So I'll give you
change the Electoral College.
Right. I'll give you an example. In 2016, people were like, well, you didn't vote. They tell me, you didn't vote for Hillary, therefore you're the reason that this happened. I was like, I lived in New Jersey. New Jersey went for Hillary. What difference does it make if I voted for her or not?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. It didn't matter at all.
Right.
So whether I voted for Hillary or not made no difference whatsoever. The state of New Jersey was going to go blue. Everybody knows that. It's not even a question. It's not even an issue. Yeah. So unless you're in certain states, your vote doesn't count. So that means this is not a democracy. This is a constitutional republic where you send representatives to Washington, D.C. And those representatives are supposed to represent about every 700,000 people. And then each state, no matter how big it is the size of California or Texas or Florida or New York, we get 2 senators. If it's the size of Rhode Island or Wyoming or Alabama, population-wise, you get 2 senators too. That's the way it's set up. And then the bankers and the international corporations and big oil and now big tech, we've got another set of oligarchs that we've added in there. They own those people. All those politicians, that guy I told you about, Mitch McConnell, you know why he's in there? Because the people that own him know that he's going to win and he's going to do what they tell him to do.
Power.
That was Mitch McConnell worth $400 million and he's been in politics his whole life. You tell me that one. How does that happen? How does that happen? He is owned by people with lots of money.
Yeah.
I saw, Walmart is bitching because people aren't buying as much cheap Chinese crap that they're selling. They're buying, the essentials that they need when they go to Walmart, like food and like clothes and diapers, and they're running out of formula, but they're buying those things, but they're not buying the cheap tchotchkes, and they're bitching about that. But meanwhile, they just had over $4 billion to buy the Denver Broncos. But you're poor and you're crying about that because inflation, because of the Federal Reserve and fractional reserve banking has pumped up the dollar on Viagra to a point where it's almost like Confederate money when at the end of the Civil War and you're wheeling it around in a wheelbarrow. That's what inflation does when you have money that's not based on anything. But when you have money that's not based on anything, it can be manipulated by people that control it. And now you don't even have to control actual cash. You just have to control what's on the computer screen. We have a Federal Reserve. There's central banks in these Western countries. There's the International Monetary Fund. You want to know how all this works? There's 2 books that you should read. Number 1, The Creature from Jekyll Island by Griffin. Number 2 is Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Read those 2 books, and then you tell me what you're going to do about any of this, because it's going to be a whole lot of nothing. And I'll tell you this, when you even get down to the city level, because I used to tell people, and I still to some degree think this is true, when you get down to the city level, just the city level, that does affect you. That's what days your garbage gets picked up. Does your water turned on? Does your plumbing work? Do the police show up when you call them? Does the fire department show up? Do you have a parks department? Your local politicians handle that, or they should. So I ran for a local office in 2011, and it was a big joke on the Stern Show. And I get, we're doing a comedy show and all that stuff, and it was a joke on Bubba's show, and I understand, but I wanted to run because the person that was running for my district was unopposed, which really sucks at the local level. Number 2, I just wanted to see what the system was like, just even running for a city council seat in a place like St. Petersburg, Florida. The Tampa Bay area is the number 19. It's the 19th largest city in America. It's 13 if you count Sarasota too, which they do for TV, but in radio, this is the 19th largest market in America. So I was like, I want to run for city council. It is so corrupt. I turned this down. I had a law firm offer me $5,000 in cash. I didn't have to do anything. Here's $5,000 in cash. We're going to hand it to you in a brown paper bag. This is what this guy says to me. Hand it to you in a brown paper bag. Just whenever anything, if you get elected, we're not even worried to stay in it. This is $5,000 that we can spend on the chance you might get elected. If you do get elected, just vote our way when you need to. And it might be 1 or 2 issues. It's not a big deal. So I was like, how about no? I'm not taking $5,000. I'm not taking $5,000 to commit a federal crime.
Right. That's crazy.
Are you insane?
That sounds like The Wire.
That's bribery. But so if that's going on, that's going on at this level, at the local level. Can you imagine when you're talking about billions, hundreds of billions, and trillions of dollars, and defense contractors, and oil money, and big pharma money, and Facebook money, and you're thinking about all of that? Think about that. Think about how cheap it is to buy politicians for that amount of money.
$5,000.
Well, $5,000 at the local level, it's probably... if somebody's running for Senate, if you could go bundle them $25,000 in campaign contributions, you'll get that senator's phone number and you can call him anytime you want. That's how this works. It is set up for a few people. And you have, let me tell you another bunch of people that are owned too that you think aren't. It's the people that are on radio and TV. They're paid to keep you in the Overton window too. Cable news is billionaires paying millionaires to tell the middle class to hate the poor. And you say, well, they don't do that on MSNBC. They absolutely do. On MSNBC, they want you to hate the rednecks in the South that are Trump supporters. And on Fox News, they want you to hate the liberals in New York and LA that are Democrats. And they get paid a lot of money for that. And it's cynical because they know exactly what they're doing. Rush Limbaugh got paid a lot of money, $400 million, 600 something radio stations to basically tell you to stay in line. Listen to any channel on Sirius XM. They're getting paid to tell you to stay in line. That's the deal. That's the deal. They need your time. They need your money. They need your wages. They need you to have kids for their militaries and their prisons. But they don't need you to have an opinion. They don't need you to have your own life. They don't need you to be doing art. They really don't want you doing psilocybin. Because all of this comes very clear when you do that. For a long time, they didn't want you smoking weed, but people... I think they stressed people out and pushed them to the brink until the point where they're like, you know what, we're smoking weed. They're like, okay, well, we'll give you that one. We'll give you that one. Remember, back when the Federal Reserve and the IRS was created, prohibition. They wanted you to stop drinking because people were drinking and partying and not working. Don't think it didn't have to do with that too. They need your labor, they want every drop of blood from you and from your family. Period. Point blank. And you can be mad at me and you can hate on me and you can get on Reddit and act like I'm the reason that your life is not turned out the way that you want it to. Because I'm some sort of a bad person. I have nothing to do with it. I'm nobody. I'm nothing. And neither are you. So stop doing the bidding for these people. Stop carrying the water for these people. And I don't care if you put Donald Trump or Howard Stern in there as president. They're in there to do anybody that would put themselves in that office is there for themselves. And I don't know why anybody that has as much money as Donald Trump or Howard Stern or Mitch Romney or George H.W. Bush or any of the rest of these people, I don't know why they would want to be president now. I understand why a guy like Bill Clinton, oh, hey, come on now, Tommy, party with me. I understand why a guy who was dirt poor would want to be president because he wanted money. And when him and Hillary left office, they were like, we're rich. That I get. That was a means for him to get rich. He came from nothing, from Hope, Arkansas, one of the most economically depressed places in America he came from. Oddly enough, so does Mike Huckabee, comes from the same town, weirdly enough. But that was a way for him to get rich. That was his way to get rich. The Bush family was already rich. Trump family was already rich. Now, Howard Stern's family's not rich, but he is. He's really rich. Why would you want that aggravation? Why would you care?
Because maybe he's doing the same thing that he was doing when he ran for governor in New York, which he got what he wanted in the end with his platform. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, when he ran for governor of New York, it was, clearly a bit and a good one. And the points that he were making were salient.
Right. But these ones you can't. Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Those are things that could and did get done. These are things these things are not going to get done. They can't get done.
Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah.
But this world is owned, run, and controlled by the ultra rich. And I don't mean people, I don't mean millionaires. Millionaires are poor compared to the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like the Rockefellers, the Bush family, people like that. That's who owns you. That's who owns this country.
Yeah.
And now the tech people, the tech geeks that you picked on in high school, see, Tommy and I are older. So the tech geeks that you picked on in high school, they figured out how to make a system where they can drain your time away and get rich off of it. So, what's the point in all this? The point is this. Let's find a point. The point is this.
Right.
You're living in an illusion. You're living in an illusion that you have a choice. You're living in an illusion that this world is not corrupt and paid for and that your time is yours. You have to take that back for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. You've got to take it all back for yourself. And when you take it back for yourself, and believe me, I'm down to, I've got to break this Twitter habit. But if I can do that,
you got it with that app.
If I can break this Twitter addiction,
yeah,
then and only then will I really have full control back of my life and my mind. But mostly I do. I carve out time to do things that I enjoy, and you've got to do that too. Whatever that may be. And you can make fun of us for spending time swinging, but guess what? Swinging is a lot more fun than sitting on Facebook reading stupid political opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the line that I said on the Stern show out of frustration, but it is also very true. When I said, I'm going to heavy metal concerts and orgies, what are you doing with your life? You're sitting on Facebook is what you're doing with your life. You're sitting on Twitter. That's what you're doing with your life. You're sitting there watching stupid YouTube videos about how the other party is responsible for your life going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're hating on people, on public figures, because you're upset with them for whatever reason in your diseased mind. Like this is complete insanity. And there's a great song that sums it up in a very angry way, and it's called Disciple by a band called Slayer. Just listen to it. It's a 2 minutes and something song, or maybe 3 minute song. Listen to that song Disciple by Slayer, and they sum it up. And I'll leave you with this. And just stick around if you want. Come back if you want. I know this is a serious discussion. My discussions on Thursday are going to be serious. They are going to be philosophical, and we are going to get down to the fucking brass tacks. And the brass tacks,
it's all good,
is this is your life, and this is your time. and Howard Stern, Donald Trump, Jack Frost, Frosty the Snowman, the Milkman, Santa Claus, or anybody else is not going to make your life better. No politician has ever solved one of your problems ever. Only technicians have. Your microwave works because of a technician. Your refrigerator works because of a technician. Think about that. These lights, this laptop, this camera, things in my apartment, my record player, my PS5. No politician had anything to do with those things working. Technicians make your life better, not politicians. Artists make your life better. People that create music make your life better. That engages a part of your brain that makes you happy. That makes your life better. Politicians make your life worse for their own benefit. And you can hate Donald Trump all you want. You can hate Howard Stern all you want. But it's not going to do any good. You can hate me all you want. It's not going to do you any good. You look at people that are in politics for their entire career. What skill does Joe Biden have? He's been a politician his whole career. It's all been screwing around to your detriment. He's the guy that wrote the 94 crime bill that got pushed through by Republican Newt Gingrich and signed by Democrat Bill Clinton, that upped the war on drugs, that sent black people to prison, that made the government crack down on marijuana, sent people to prison for doing drugs, not even selling drugs, which I got to tell you, I've got more respect for drug dealers than I do for politicians. They're more honest. And they kill less people than politicians. All of that stuff. Biden made your life worse when he was a senator. And then Newt Gingrich agreed with him. And go back and look, there's a picture of Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich shaking hands on the 94 crime bill that upped the war on drugs and upped the prison population. It upped private prisons. It fed people into the prison system. We feed people into the military industrial complex. We don't care about you. Nobody cares about you. It's only you that cares about you. And if you feel the need to take your frustrations out on other people that have done nothing to you, I would take a real hard look at what you're doing with your life. I'd take a real hard look in the mirror, because it's wasting away. I can't tell you that enough. You're wasting your life. You're wasting your time. To quote Cat Williams, if you're not smoking weed, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Smoke you some weed. Get some psilocybin in your mind as a political point, like it should be legal. It will remove this lens that you see the world through. You're going to go, whoa, holy shit, dude, I see what's going on here now. It's all a big shit sandwich, and we all have to take a bite. And I'm telling you right now, back up and refuse to take a bite. Refuse to participate. When the colonists first came to America to set up this agrarian type society that we have, before they went to Africa and took African peoples there as slaves and brought them here, you know, they first tried to enslave the Native Americans, but they couldn't do it. You know why they couldn't do it? Native Americans shut themselves down and refused to participate. As hard as that is, think about this. They shut down. They were like, no, we're not going to eat. We're not going to drink. You can beat me. We'll starve ourselves to death. We're not going to be slaves. Couldn't do it. Refuse to participate. Carve out your bubble. Do your thing. Because nobody cares about you. They only care about themselves. And that goes for just about everybody except maybe your spouse and maybe your parents. Maybe. But everybody else, your neighbors, your friends, and then none of those people, politicians, the police, nobody cares about you. Only you. And guard your mind against groupthink. Be an individual. Do things that make you happy. and don't hurt other people. It's bad for your mind. It's bad for you. It hurts you. It poisons you. So with that, we've had a serious talk here. Thank you, Tommy.
Fake Alex Jones just gifted 5 tier 1 subs.
Oh, thank you, Fake Alex Jones. That guy, the real Alex Jones, man. I have a theory about him. I'll get into that one day. I've got a theory about him too. And it's not what you think. But thank you, Fake Alex Jones, for the 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you. And all of you, thank you for being here. I'm sorry, on Thursdays, I can't pay attention to your comments or get to your comments because I've got an hour's worth of material and an hour's worth of thoughts prepared and ready to go. So, but I do. You put limits on things. I learned this from the great Neil Strauss, our greatest nonfiction author, American author living today is Neil Strauss. And I learned this from Neil. He's a brilliant guy. Anything that you're doing, social interactions or time on screen or reading a book or whatever, limit that time. So we took this hour. We talked about how meaningless it is who the president is because the Congress is controlled by rural states. We've talked about how meaningless really your vote and your life is. So why care? Because they don't care about you. So why should you care about them? Don't participate. And with that, Tommy Greenery and I, right after this, we're going to go get set up and we're going to do something that we enjoy, something that we like, something that brings us happiness. Now, video games are fun. That's enjoyable. And it also does have some benefit for your brain, hand-eye coordination, strategy, things like that. It's like, the modern day version of playing chess sometimes. Video games are great. And they're good for you if you limit the time that you do it, 1 or 2 games per day. So we're going to get off here. Tommy Greenery and I are going to flip over to PlayStation. I'm going to be PlayStation, and he's on Nintendo NES because you can play MLB The Show cross-platform online. So we're going to play cross-platform. We're going to jump online. We're going to play an exhibition game. And then 2 things. I need you to get a hold of me whisper style here and tell me, are you interested in getting into Tommy and I are thinking about putting together an online league, maybe even a tournament with Major League Baseball, The Show. And number 1, if you're interested in that, and what team would you want? Whisper me that. And then number two, if you want to challenge me to a game live on Twitch of MLB The Show, no matter what platform you're on, I'm up for playing you in MLB The Show as well, because we are going to have some fun here and enjoy ourselves. I know Katelyn's show on Tuesday is very on a very personal nature, and she gets into our personal life. It's all interesting.
It's really good.
It's good. It's fun, sexy stuff. But I've got things that I want to really real things that I want to talk to you about, and
it's important.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time with nonsense. I'm going to actually do a show for you here, and one day I might do more interacting with the comments, but I get ADD'd out and I get derailed, and I have things the points that I want to make. So understand that, and I appreciate your patience, and I appreciate you being a good audience. A few minutes, Tommy Greenery and I will be flipped over to MLB The Show, and we will stream that live. So everybody have a great. Donkey T said, "Can I use the Dodgers?" You can use any team you want. I could whoop the Dodgers just like anybody else. I do it all the time.
Chat was on fire tonight.
Well, hey, thank you everybody for chatting. Again, I'm sorry I didn't get to more of your comments, but I do appreciate you being here. I do appreciate you chatting, and I would ask that you just do this: disengage chatting, disengage talking, and just sit and think on the things that I said tonight. Think on it. And if you want to, because I have a Twitter addiction, so if you think I'm wrong, tweet at me and tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong. Again, the 2 books that I recommend that will open your eyes: Creature from Jekyll Island by Griffin and Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Those two. Read those two books, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. End the Fed. End the war on drugs. Abolish the IRS. And your life will get better. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you to my wife, Katelyn, for being awesome. And I'll say this, to quote one of my heroes in this whole entire world. He goes by the name of Henry Rollins. You know him from Black Flag. You know him from the Rollins Band. You know him, his spoken word tours and all this stuff. He speaks a lot of truth. And this is his quote. I want you to live two ways, long and strong. Good night, everybody.
That's the man, Brent Hatley. I love that dude.
This show is fucking trippy, man. It's fucking. You need some mushrooms and some acid and watch this show.